In this video, I'm going to talk about elasticity, which is basically the first topic in microeconomics. We have four different types of we have four different types of elasticity: price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply, cross elasticity, and income elasticity. You need to know the definitions, how we define them, and you need to know how to calculate them and how you can read your calculation, what it means, for instance, if the price elasticity of demand is 2.5, what it means if the price elasticity of supply is 0.5. I'm going to start with price elasticity of demand because the major part of this chapter is about price elasticity of demand. And I'm going to briefly define other elasticities. Price elasticity of demand measures how sensitive the buyers are to price changes. Elasticity basically means sensitiveness, okay? So we want to see if our buyers are sensitive to price changes. For us as buyers, we really don't care about the price elasticity of demand, but don't forget this is a micro class and we're more concerned about firms and businesses' behavior. So price elasticity of demand is a very valuable tool to the firms and businesses because they need to know how their consumers will react to the changes in price. Are they going to freak out if they see a dollar increase in their price, or if they don't care and they keep buying the product? If the buyers are super sensitive and they freak out, let's say if the price goes up, it means that the buyers are very sensitive and they have elastic demand, okay? If the price goes down, they're gonna buy a lot. Again, they are very sensitive, so they have an elastic demand. If the buyers really don't care about the changes in the price and their quantity demanded, how much they buy doesn't really change. If the price goes up or down, then the demand is inelastic. This is what we mean by elastic demand, inelastic demand. There are two ways that you can calculate the elasticity, price elasticity of demand. And if you look at the notes, you will see that there are two formulas. The first one is the percentage change in quantity divided by percentage change in price. We typically don't use this formula if you want to calculate the elasticity. Why? Because you need to know your new price, your old price, your new quantity, and your old quantity. If you don't know them, you're going to get different answers, okay? As a result, we're going to use the second formula, which is called midpoint formula. That is true also for price elasticity of supply when we want to calculate the price elasticity of supply. If you use the midpoint formula, you really don't care about new price, old price, new quantity, and old quantity, okay? So I suggest you to use the midpoint formula when you want to calculate the elasticity. Now let's see how we read our answers. First of all, remember that the price elasticity of demand is always negative. Why? Because of law of demand. Review law of demand from demand and supply chapter if you don't recall. We have an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. That's why we have a negative sign. But we don't really care. We're going to ignore the negative sign. We're going to drop it and we're going to look at the absolute value. Remember, if you want to keep the negative sign, your demand is always inelastic, which is not necessarily true. So drop the negative sign and then compare your answers with number 1. If the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, demand is elastic. If it's less than 1, inelastic. If it's equal 1, you need elastic. But we also have two extreme cases. Look over them for price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of supply measures how sensitive the suppliers are to price changes, okay? Are they sensitive to price changes? How much their quantity supplied, how much the number of goods and services that they sell actually will change, okay? You can again measure price elasticity of supply using the percentage formula or midpoint formula. If you want to calculate it, make sure that you use the midpoint formula. Time is the major determinants of price elasticity of supply, and it can affect the price elasticity of supply a lot. That's why we have 3 different time periods when it comes to price elasticity of supply. Make sure you read what we mean by immediate market. short run and long run, remember that the elasticity changes because of that time. So we have the most elastic supply in the long run because simply suppliers, businesses, they have more time to change everything in the long run. So they can change their quantity a lot in the long run. In short run, the supply is elastic, but is not as elastic as the long run. In the short run, remember that the businesses don't want really to invest a lot in the short run because short run is too risky. So the only factor of production, the only resource that are going to change in the short run is labor, because labor is cheap. So in the short run, supply, remember, is elastic, but not as elastic as the long run. In immediate market, businesses don't have time whatsoever to change their quantity supplied. So as a result, their quantity is fixed. They cannot change labor, capital, nothing. That's why we have a perfectly inelastic supply. Instead of having a usual shape for supply that we saw in the previous chapters, we see a vertical supply in the immediate market. This is one extreme case we have for supply. We also have a cross elasticity, which is again related to chapter 3, demand and supply. One of the determinants of demand was price of related goods. Cross elasticity measures how sensitive the buyers are to the price changes of related goods. We only have one formula. Look over that. We have income elasticity. Income elasticity measures how the buyers are sensitive to changes in their income. Again, we have only one formula for that. For cross elasticity and income elasticity, remember, the only thing that we care about is the sign of these two elasticities. Unlike price elasticity of demand, it was always negative, but we ignored the sign. We really don't have a problem with the sign for price elasticity of supply because of the law of supply. The price elasticity of supply is always positive, but we care about the sign of cross elasticity and income elasticity. So to keep it short, for price elasticity of demand and supply, we always, when after calculation, we always compare our answers with number 1. Greater than 1, elastic, less than 1, inelastic, equal 1, unit elastic. For cross elasticity and income elasticity, the only thing we care about is the sign. For cross elasticity, if the cross elasticity is positive, remember, it's about the relationship between the two goods. It means that the two products that we're discussing, they are substitute. If it's negative, the two products we're discussing are complement. Income elasticity now. If the sign of the income elasticity is positive, it means that the product that we're discussing is normal. And if it's negative, it means that it's inferior. Review again chapter 3, because income elasticity is also related to income, one of the determinants of demand. So review what we mean by normal, inferior goods. One last thing is about total revenue test in this chapter. Which is related to price elasticity of demand. Another way of measuring how sensitive the buyers are to price changes is using this test. For this test, you should first calculate the total revenue, which is price times quantity. When you are done with that, look at the relationship between the price and the total revenue. So the question is telling you the price is changing, okay? And you are trying to figure out the elasticity of demand here. If the price is changing in the same way with your total revenue, price is going up, total revenue is going up. Price is going down, total revenue is going down. Then it tells you that the demand is inelastic. Let's say the price is going up, but the total revenue is going up. What does it tell you? It tells you that the buyers are not sensitive about this increase in price because the total revenue of the firm is still going up. However, the product is more expensive than before. So buyers probably, they don't have a choice, so they keep buying it, right? Their quantity is not changing much. So that's the inelastic demand. If the price and total revenue are moving in the opposite direction, meaning that price is going up, your total revenue is going down, price going down, total revenue is going up, it means that the buyers are really sensitive. They care about this price change. So the demand is elastic. If price goes up or down and the total revenue does not change at all, then the demand is unit elastic. So please make sure that you know all these formulas. We have couple formulas that unfortunately you have to memorize them. You know how to use them, and also how to read your calculation. Read how we define different elasticities. Look at some of the graphs, the few graphs that we have, especially when it comes to total revenue test, when it comes to time for price elasticity of supply. And let me know if you have any question. Thank you.